Please give me your opinion, and we'll start with Joe. Why is 40% customer retention okay in service drives?
I'll tell you, typically, because unless I'm getting punished for not having it, I don't look at it, right? So as soon as the manufacturer says, hey, some of your money is now based on customer retention, then I go look at it. But most of the time, right, all owners, as we go through, I'm one of those guys that became a GSM and then became a service director. And so where, again, that's normally not the case before you become a GM, where you operate on both sides of the house. And most of the time it's, look, I'm just going to grab as much as I can that comes in the door, and we're not going to actively pursue it. And so too often if everybody comes from variable, then guess what? The whole dealership is ran like variable, which is, we can't predict anything. We can't do, and you're like, wait, fixed is supposed to be fixed for a reason, that I can count on it month after month. And then how do I get fixed absorption above 100%? So then sales can play variable all day long, and we don't care what the variable is. It's all gravy.
At first, I was not shocked because I do know the industry, right? And, we also know what plays in. But, a few things that struck chords for me in all of this. First, exactly what Joe just said, working on it versus working in it, right? They are two different things. And very often when somebody transitions to the manager role, they can't take that hat off. Time, you're engulfed in it, you're buried knee deep, and you really are working on what's in front of you. And so, you noticed the one thing in that video is, that Jack Brennan started to implement. So he's the one that's working on it. He's creating these solutions in-house, and he's creating a process. That process feeds into everything, including the communication in-house. They have a huge, massive dealership, and yet they still manage to maintain communication. The other as well, and I'm a strong believer, of course, because I come from finance, is we've all talked about these retention tools, service retention tool, PPM, like, are you looking at what your lease retention is, right? So, we're talking about 40%. We even know that even often, the average, I did the calculation of the top 39 dealers for top penetration just on repeat customers of the brand. And that averages out itself at just under 35%.
To your comment about the sales guys driving the service customers, I don't think there's ever been a value proposition properly put together for the salesperson to do that. It's been just you want to play lot guy for an hour because we're swamped out back. And that just doesn't work unless you can sit down and actually put a value proposition together, put some closing percentages together, drive 100 customers, sell a car, whatever the thing is, but you got to have something for them. And I think that's where that system falls apart. And the reason I say that is I was able to successfully put it into place. And what we did is we actually did it after the fact when we had the 4 o'clock rush for pickup. We actually had the sales guys working with service. They would go around the back, they would bring the customer's car around, and they would make special note of the kilometers and something about it. And then the next day they would call the 5 people whose cars they pulled around, and they would just say, hey, by the way, I pulled your car around, I was just helping service out. I don't typically work in there, but I have a buyer for your car. Would you be interested in selling your car? Keep it in pretty good shape. I just happen to have a buyer looking for that car. And we were able to present them with actual percentages of, you drive this many cars around, you're likely to buy this many, and you buy this many, you're likely to sell this many, and we can put it into value. So that, I just want to touch on that real quick. But I think where the 40% falls apart, the biggest drop is how sales hands the customer to service. It is an absolute atrocious in our industry. If the restaurant industry did that, or the hotel industry handed a customer off like that, they would be broke.
First again, but what are the low-hanging fruits of opportunity to expand the service drive sales and therefore drive retention?
So one of the things I'm going to say too is that when we're in the 20 groups and we go through, right, the answer is, okay, how do I get better CSI? Is their first question in the 15 seconds, right? They go, what do I need to do to game the system?
Yeah.
Right. And you're like, wait, you forgot to actually take care of the customer. Right. If we actually took care of them, then that would be gaming the system. But we're looking for the cheapest, easiest way out. Okay. One of the things I'll tell you, like, how do I get a service customer to come back in? And again, not saying anybody's, my age, but I'm going to go with John's hair color matching mine here and say that we're somewhere close. But
30.
we all, when it's time to get an oil change, what do? We look up in the upper left-hand corner of our windshield where that little cellophane sticker thing was. So in every dealership I ran or that I coach, I say, at PDI, print one of those and put the first mileage interval and the phone number and put it up on the top. So now I have that, if this is what we typically do and what we've trained people to do for years, why aren't we doing it at PDI so that every new car on my lot has it? Every used car that goes through recon should have the next mileage interval sticker up in the windshield. And it's, again, I train at the largest dealership that's out there. That dealership itself offers flatbed service. And they said, we will send a flatbed to your work, pick up your car, bring it, service it, and drop it back off. We put 0 miles on it. And we'll do that for free as part of your oil change. You're like, are you kidding me? Right? Everybody goes, that's way too expensive. And they're like, no, losing that next sale and all of the warranty work and the service work is what's too expensive. But again, am I thinking the end of the month or am I thinking 3 years down the line? But imagine this. You're sitting at work and you go, oh, hang on, I got to go give my keys to the guy outside. And everybody at work goes, what are you talking about? They look out, they see a flatbed branded with the company name. They watch the guy carefully pick your car up, roll it up on the thing, put it down. And everybody is standing outside at that point going, what's going on? How much did they charge you for that? Oh, no, it's included. Oh, wow, I should probably go there. That's how the other people lost and got themselves to 40% because somebody saw the flatbed of this dealership and they went, oh my goodness, I'd rather have that.
And it's funny how people will spend more time and energy trying to game the system than actually do it properly. And two of the best practices that we use in our system is, one, we make sure that the service manager once a month phones every customer that was in for service without a stock number, because that means that they are new to the dealership through the service department. And that means they're either mad at the other service department or they moved. And when they get a call from a service manager saying, thanks, we know you got lots of options, they are blown away. They got in a screaming match with the last guy. Now this guy suddenly cares. The other one that almost every dealership doesn't know is how many people they lose every month due to the fact of they can't market to them due to CASL in Canada or CAN-SPAM in the US or whatever the case may be. So they come in for service. A few months later, they happen to pop into a Mr. Lube because they were close, or they're on holidays, or the spouse takes the car somewhere else or does something else. And then they slowly lose that timeline, and now they're not marketable to anymore. And the dealership doesn't even know how many that is. Meanwhile, they got 100 a month falling off the back end. And all they have to do is reach out to them, run a very simple sale, and bring them back into the database again so they can continually market to them. And I just find it amazing how many people fall off the back end of a dealership and how much money they spend up front trying to get another customer. It would cost them virtually nothing to retain them.
Right. It'd be cost a phone call from their hourly person they're paying anyway, right? I run what they call the customer appreciation sale for all those people that disappeared, right? The ones that have faded off kind of deal. That's great. That's a report in any service CRM that says who has not been in my shop in the last 6 months, right? And you go out there and you look for them. So I'd say, let's go at 9 months so that we know that you completely missed your 6-month service, right? And you're out there. And then I call with whatever the service special is we have. Guess what? They're not reading your emails. They never look in their mailbox for a service special, right? I don't know about you guys. When you guys go, oh, I need furniture. Do you go, let me go to my mailbox and see who's going out of business this week? No, You
That's
don't,
carpets.
right? You turn around and go, let me go online, or let me go do this. Well, great. Are we reaching out to the people the right way? But I do what I call and say, I just want to let you know that you have an unused discount voucher in our system. Right. And I've had people go, yeah, but I don't know where I put it. And I'm like, well, of course you wouldn't. I made it up in my head an hour ago, and I'm calling you to let you know that you have an unused discount voucher, which happens to match the same oil filter, right, rotation 1,000 point check special that I have in those mailers you ignored and all that other stuff. And if they went to someplace else and they go, well, I just got my oil change, I go, let me see if I can get it extended for you to the next service interval, because it was expiring at the end of this month. Let me see if I can get it extended. And then you put them on hold and go, play the Jeopardy song, then come back and go, yes, my manager said he'll extend it to you on the next one. Now I can bring that person back in. But who's actually out there dialing it?
Right. Nobody.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Oh, there's auto dialers for that.
Right.
Well,
But
and that's
nobody has this script to go, hey, go call the person, right? If you tell a BDC person and you just say, can you call this guy and get him back in? They're going to go, hey, do you need an oil change? Right. And the person's going to go, no, I just had it. And they're going to go, okay, well, think of us again for the next one. And
the other one, Joe, that we have a lot of success with that I'll share here is we actually encourage our dealerships to put together a $1 wiper blade sale. And it's just for the people who are those 9 months, 10 months, whatever the criteria you've selected.
But Barry, they don't use wipers in LA.
Yeah, they will. Right. 4 times a year they do.
No, they crack before we ever use them, right?
But what the deal is it's really tough to say no to a $1 wiper blade, factory wiper blade that the dealership's going to install for you. And they will virtually drive across the city for a $1 wiper blade. But now you've done business with them, you can remarket to them again and you can re-energize them again. So even if they don't want to engage with an oil change or a 1,000 point inspection or whatever you got going, that $1 wiper blade is a tough one to say no to.
Yeah, right, for sure.
But it's also when they come into the service drive, why aren't we looking at wiper blades and selling a wiper blade?
Yep.
Right.
There's 3 of them.
I mean, you pop up and go, there you go. I just added another $30 worth of profitability to my ROs. If you got a 10% take rate, right? How much did you just add to your service department with your highest gross to net ratio in your store? Right? Why is it we're not doing this? When I worked for the Joe Verdi group, and I used to work with as soon as I talked to a general manager, I would say, hey, you know what? What if I showed you a way to pay for the training? And they're like, what are you talking about? And I had a spreadsheet that I made. Sorry, Jeff. Yeah. And so on the spreadsheet was, I blacked out all the cells just for a couple ones and said, type in how many service repair orders you have. Right. And then I did, and here's a 3% conversion on wiper blades. And then I go, look, we paid for the training for the next 4 months just because you have profitability that's built into this. And they go, oh, wow, really? And you go, yeah, look where you need to look. And
well, and then when they go to their next dealer 20 group, they've got an extra line per RO in there. And yeah, and they're off like, the radar. They're good.
Used car managers don't spend the money on wiper blades, and the first thing the customer hits by accident when they get in a used car is a wiper that goes. Brandy, you haven't had a chance to give
Brandy,
your opinion.
Can you follow up that Chewbacca impersonation?
Yeah. Oh yes.
Oh, well, you know what? I'm a bit of a fan of the franchise. So
nice.
Cool.
Brandy, please.
I do have to say I love the unused discount voucher. That is brilliant.
Send me your email. I'll send you the script.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic.
Give it away to everybody.
You know, a couple things. Obviously, for low-hanging fruit, I think, and I will say, business managers are probably going to hate me for saying this, but taking out post-sale warranty solicitation from finance and putting it into service. A quote literally should be done with every single customer that comes in the door for service, every single customer. The most successful stores I've worked with actually distributed the appointment list for the following day to the finance managers who very often did nothing with it. So huge opportunity. What's that?
They're really busy.
Yeah, they're so busy. Well, and I will say, okay, I was in finance for a very long time. I was a hustler. I had my lunch in my drawer, always at busy stores. But, and that's just it, trying to work with that side. And we've been trying to work with that side to do post-sale solicitation for as long as they've been around, and it's not working. So that would be massive, is just, taking it right out of server, right out of finance for post-sale anything and putting it into service. The other thing that just strikes a chord, and I've just been looking at some stats lately, and is to call for something, to call your customers when you're not having a sale
here. And so when I was working with the factories, it was like, oh, come into the meeting. So we go into the meeting, they go, we're going to give you a whatever Google has that matches Amazon's thing, some Google thing, hello Google thing. They said, we'll give a free one to the person who can go onto their own website and schedule a service visit the fastest. And you see all these GMs go, and then they're all like throwing their phone. And they're like, this is BS. How do I? And I'm like, if it takes you longer than 45 seconds, you've lost that customer. And their answer is, I'll just stop at the Jiffy Lube on my way down the street because they got somebody outside waving at me. Right. And they're like, look, we have open bays. But again, if you go onto your website, I just did this for my car right now. I was like, oh, I'm not in a dealership anymore, so I don't have the luxury of just handing it to somebody to get done. So I was like, let me go find the dealer closest to me and I was like, and my browser autofills most of my information, and it still took me like 4 minutes to schedule something. And it was like, and we're going to tell you it's going to cost you $300 for an oil change. And I'm like, well, of course, you just scared the piss out of me right now. Right. And I'm like, why are we doing? And it's like, okay, have a button to say show what estimate is if you want to, but keep it hidden on your way through so that you don't $79 waving outside of somebody's business and you tell me 300, right? You've lost me. And you go, oh, but if you had looked through 7 pages of my website, you would see we match other people's specials.
Because we buy websites from companies, and these are companies that the manufacturers don't sponsor, but they approve, and it's all about selling cars. Now, if you want a better website, contact Ian at navthat.com. My good friend Ian Nethercott, but they have a better solution. Ian, I want $5.
I think Jeff, quickly to Brandy's point there.
Yes,
I think the part of our industry was on their game when COVID hit, and they actually picked up the phone and they actually phoned and said, hey, is everything okay? Has anything on your budget changed? Do you need help with anything? Do you need deferred payments? There's 100 questions you could ask around COVID that had nothing to do with the actual illness itself, just to show that you actually give a shit. And really, back to Joe's, I love it. Gaming the system is just doing what you say you do and what you get good at. And for me to receive a phone call from a dealership to say, hey, just touching base real quick to make sure, it's going to get a little weird over the next few months, just making sure you're good here, you're good there. Toyota's offering deferred payments for 3 months on whatever. You don't have to buy a new car, you do, or whatever. I at least might entertain the conversation. Or, hey, you know what? Thanks for checking in. Really appreciate it. To Brandy's point, they're not trying to sell me a car bold and loud, but that might be the end result. But that's not the bold and loud statement that we're all making all of a sudden.
To add to that, actually, I read a stat that it said something like 82% of customers don't know their salesperson's name after 1 year.
Yeah.
Pardon me. So here I am. I'm only looking for that next sale. I'm not looking to say, hey, how you doing? I'm not looking to say, do you know, like, what is it? 30% of people buying a car know somebody else that's buying a car. How about, there's so much opportunity, but unless we lay it out for them, and I'm sorry, it does need that. People, and that's why, people like John has a process. Joe has a company that allows you to partner up with stores that actually lay this out for you. Brilliant thing I've seen done is a car wash, an anytime car wash. You hire somebody to $15 an hour. You pick 1 day of the week, you pick every day of the week. You want customers to come in your door, give them a free car wash. It is one of the cheapest things that you can actually do to get customers in your door.
Just to build on that real quick, we did that actually at one of the stores I was at. And what we would do is everybody had 20 of them. We would just randomly go through a Costco parking lot and put them under wipers, and you'd be blown away how many people would come in and say, this is a really nice touch. And it was a Honda store, and we'd give them to Toyotas, and we'd give them to everybody. And you know what? It just built such good rapport and good, strong relationship. It's a really strong idea too.
And in Calgary, it's infamous for the fact it'll be 45 below zero at 9 a.m. and it'll be 45 above zero at 1 p.m. and there's 730 cars lined up at a car wash to get
Well,
car wash.
honestly, Jeff, what we did is we figured out how many staff car washes we're doing and figured, why wouldn't we do those for the customer?
The pickup drop off. And that's obviously become a very big deal, especially during COVID. But one of our conversations we had on another show with, it was a sales show, and people were talking about fighting the onslaught of the online retailers, the Carvanas of the world, etc. And one point you made is the fact that persons at work and this blue truck, I think Carvana trucks are blue, flatbed pulls up in front of their place. On the back is their 2014 Hyundai Elantra, and somebody in the receptionist is getting their new Elantra delivered to them like it's the CEO getting their Bentley. And Big's Carvana on the side, a nice person wearing a polo shirt, well groomed, says, let me go over your car. What a great thing. Same thing with the pickup drop off. They said, what's the matter? Is your car broken? No, I'm getting an oil change. Joe, can you expand on that, please?
So not all of us have the ability to lose $3,000 a rattle the way Carvana does, because we don't have venture capital money. Okay. But, you can tell which side of the house I prefer.
I agree.
Yeah. And so, but one of the things too, is that if you look at it, it's about convenience. The bottom line is that, can I make it more convenient for the actual customer? Because Amazon is not the cheapest here. Okay. It is that you can go on eBay, find it, and have it shipped to your house, except I can just click the button on my phone and reorder something, right? And I watch this too, because I'm one of those nerdy people, where all of a sudden, after about 4 months of something on subscription, you get, this product is no longer available, but here's a replacement. Do you just want to click this button? And it's gone up $2, whatever it is. And it's a different brand that now Amazon owns, right? It comes through, and I'm like, well, so my paper towels have gotten more expensive and are from a brand I don't know. And all you got to do is go search again on Amazon to find the one you had before, but they go, it's no longer available on subscription. Yeah, it is. You just have to go do some extra work, but it's about convenience, and they're bumping you for a couple dollars more per person, per subscription monthly, right? Or every other month, depending on your subscription. But again, why? It's a convenience. If it's me going to Target to get something, right? Or I'm going to click the button and get it tomorrow instead of today. Yeah, I can wait till tomorrow. It's more convenient for me not to have to go in and walk into a retailer where I'm going to spend more money by mistake, right, than I would if I just waited for the stuff to come into my house. Like, I'm not a big fan of shuttle. Every dealership I ran, it was like I went and got the Uber, right, manager edition. That was the executive one where you can go in and mass populate stuff. So my service customers came out and they were like, when's the shuttle go? We go, oh no, we have an Uber for you right here. It cost me $6 per person. That's okay. So $15 is an hourly wage for a shuttle driver who's gone all day, right? Picking up 10, 12 people, right? I'm just going to go ahead and get them an Uber, send them away. They call back and go, I'm ready to be picked up. We're like, great, click, click, click. There's going to be an Uber out front, right? Look for them. And so but the convenience for the customer is I don't have to spend an hour sitting here getting pissed off, watching the sales guys smoke and spit and cuss, right, in the huddle. And now I don't want to come back to your dealership, right? Nowadays, right, again, my wife runs a dealership, and I have a lot of clients at dealerships where the person is sitting there complaining because somebody walked by without a mask on. And now you get Yelp reviews that says you don't have a mask on. And we're like, we're in the building, you're outside the building, and you're looking in the window, typing a Yelp review to say that someone inside you saw who got up from their desk to grab paper from the printer and sat back down, still behind the plexiglass, had their mask off, right? And so again, it's how are you controlling customer perception? How are they being introduced to the service department from the sales department? Are they going, in 6 months, come get your oil change, right? Guess what? As oil gets better and the manufacturer cost of ownership needs to keep going down, our intervals go crazy, right? I have a Volvo that's once a year or 10,000 miles whenever you do. That's so different than I grew up with every 3,000 miles or 90 days, right? 4 visits to service versus you don't have time to make a relationship with me with one service.
How does a dealership handle, a terrible term, but it's an internal term, upsells, when you're sending a flat deck to pick up a car, the customer's getting an Uber to drive them away immediately. They're not sitting around. How do you handle that when you get back to the customer and say, by the way?
FaceTime and technicians using video.
In the States, it's called SnapCell. In Canada, it's branded as virtual video. And it is an amazing tool for the upsell process for a service department. It gives them a, start stop ability to be with the vehicle at the time. So it doesn't matter if it's the tech, the writer, the foreman, it doesn't matter who's doing it. They can literally show the customer while the vehicle's up on the hoist and with no liability to the customer being in the shop. It's, and this is the other point, is working on it versus working in it. By working on it, you get to find these solutions. You get to vet these solutions out for the problems that are before you. And if you're not giving yourself the time to work on it.
Work with companies outside of just automotive, right? And so I have moving companies that as soon as COVID hit, right, their answer was all of the phone calls increased and everybody wants an estimate to move because they've got to move, and they all want to go to a state where they can pretend to be free. And so they're like, oh, let's do this. All we did was flip to WhatsApp for Android and FaceTime for iPhone. And then we ask the customer to walk through the house. So the person's walking through the house and they're like, hold on, how many drawers in that dresser? Okay, how heavy would you say this is? And they go through, and now we give estimates. The client is involved in it, right? So now it's way more believable. If you're calling me to say, right, what's the biggest thing? That service advisor is lying to me. Guess what? Not all of them are as ethical as we would like them to be. But if you're going to have a technician who's holding up a phone, right, and you can buy 4 phones, so it's always the dealership one, just go grab a phone and go do this, right? And go look at it. And that way the tech's not giving his own number and getting side jobs. But you look at it and go, okay, here's where it should be, and look at it, right? Well, let me show you what you hit on the freeway, evidently, right? Because this is damaged and you can see the scrapes all the way down, and you go through it. And it's like, why do we do video walkarounds of the vehicle when we come into service? So I can prove to you later that yes, it was dented, right? It's a CYA program for us, but it's so that I can also say, do you want a detail? I can't see the paint, right? Upsell when you get into service. But when I look at that, it's how do you create trust? It's by the illusion of transparency, people. It doesn't have to be transparent. The answer is here. This is what I'm doing. I'm not hiding from you. I am showing you that here's your car. This is what it looks like. And here it is. But go into your service database and text every one of your customers today that just says, hi, this is so-and-so, the service manager over here. Just want to make sure your car's running okay. Let me know if it's not.
Retention and sales, funny enough, they go hand in hand. It's very interesting. And, you mentioned about trying to book a service appointment. I went to a mobile one once, and I now get a email thing. Pardon me, my dogs are talking. I get an email once every 3 months from them, and it says, click here, free wiper blades, and bing, I just have to hit enter and I've got an appointment at Mobile One. And I can drive in, get a coffee and a newspaper, whatever that is anymore. And
I read about
at a dealership, you got to go through 7 pages to book it. But when I was in sales and sales management, there was always one thing that I taught my salespeople. And that was to say, at the end of their talking to the customer, before they said, do you want to buy the car? If there was one thing holding you back from taking this car today, now, what would that one thing be? So tell me, if there was one thing that dealers could do right now to improve their customer retention, what would that one thing be?
So I'm gonna jump in and say it needs to be a better handoff from sales to service. Okay. So I was looking, sorry, Barry left, at gaming the system when I was running a dealership because the manufacturer had a question that says, were you introduced to service? I'm sorry. Here, we're open till 10 p.m. Service closes at 7 if we're lucky, right? Usually 6. So I've got all of my prime time selling is done after the service department is closed. So I would tell them to go take a picture of every one of their service advisors, hang it up on the wall. If you go to your whatever your stationery store is that you have near you, they have clear plastic wall mounted things that have business card holders in the front of them. You slide that picture of the advisor there. We made it a game. Okay. So we would walk up. So if Brandy's my client who just bought the car, I'd walk up and go, okay, Brandy, here's all of our service department. Now they're not here right now because they went home. Okay. So now we can judge them ourselves, just you and I. Okay. Yeah. So let's look up at the pictures up here. Which one do you think you want to work with? Right. For your first oil change. Right. And they go, oh, I want to work with Jamie because Brandy picked the woman. Right. Brandy's like, I like her bright red hair. I love her. Oh, get her. She goes, I want to go with Jamie. And then I would go, okay, well, Jamie, this is Brandy. Brandy, this is Jamie. Say hi. Right. And then Brandy goes, you want me to say hi to a picture? I'm like, absolutely. And then Brandy goes, hi, Jamie. And I go, oh, and Jamie wanted you to have her card. She's shy. She doesn't want to talk right now. And I hand you a card. Right. My scores go through the roof because when you get to the survey that says, were you introduced to service? So like, this fool made me say hi to a picture. Yes, I was introduced to service.
The first thing though, Joe, not everybody is as fun as you. And that is a culture that is in its own, you know, those people that are not, or that don't have even that culture of making it fun and making it unique. And it really starts with that, right? And you know, well, you're a guy that
logical,
you can put
if you make buying a car logical, this is the first time ever, guys, that we have, like, I grew up with, you either bought a Ford or a Chevy. You don't want to look at an import, right? And it was like, what? And then you go, oh, if I'm going to do import, it's Honda, Toyota, right? That's who I compete with. Nowadays, I go into a client who's a Toyota store and the customer goes, well, it's either this or the Chevy Malibu. And I'm like, foul. You don't get to mix it like that. We only have our competition is in our own niche here. Come on. But again, we don't take the approach to say, hey, it's open, right? If they're going to buy a car, it's going to be logical. If I can make it fun, you come back, right? We don't want something. If you walk in and the waitress looks at you and goes, hi, here's the special. You need a minute? And you're like, yeah, give me a minute. If the person walks up and goes, hi, hon, I'm going to be right back. I'm going to go do, and then wants to make it more engaging, right? We go back to places where they remember us. The food doesn't even have to be killer. It's the service that matters. And if the service matters, right? Do you have a system that tells your salespeople, guess what? Your customer's coming in for service tomorrow, so you can go say hi. Right? I'll take 5 phone calls off of your daily call total that you have to make if you can prove you said hi to that customer.
So I take it down. This particular caddy dealer is tiny for especially your area, an American dealer, but it's sitting on 6 acres of land and it's a fairly good sized store. I pull into the drive-through. I go over the Hunter little thing that you drive over. It tells you your tread wear and your brake wear. And there's a guy sitting at a desk. Said, yeah, pull up ahead. So I pull up ahead, get out of the car, and I stand there. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what to do. Nobody has said hello to me. I see 6 eyes behind glass, 30 feet away looking at me. Nothing. I stand there for 10 minutes. Finally, I walk up.
You're a little slow, Jeff.
Sorry?
You're a little slow.
You know what? Part of me was saying, how long would it take? Yeah. You know, I wasn't a regular customer. Let me just see how screwed up these guys are.
Yes.
I finally walk up to somebody and they go, oh, let me see. Oh, yeah, you're with Fred. Fred will be back in a minute. Sorry, guys. My dog's really pissed off.
Dog doesn't like Fred.
Exactly. So then I go back and finally Fred shows up and I go, geez, man, I've been standing. He says, hey, sorry, buddy. He said I was on my break. I said, well, couldn't he help me? No, we don't do that. Okay. I leave the car. I go walk into the showroom. He says, yeah, just go inside and have a seat. And of course, it's COVID. So every chair's 6 feet apart, 30 feet apart for every 4th chair. And I go into the showroom and I walk around. Now, I don't look like I'm a big shot, but the first thing I do is go to a Canyon pickup. Didn't go to the Corvette, didn't go to the Caddy, to the Canyon pickup, which is low-hanging fruit. Nothing. Make a long story short, I was there for an hour and a half before I heard anything. As I'm leaving, I see the service manager is a service manager I used to work with. And I told him, I says, dude, what's going on? He says, hey, we're busy. I said, okay. And you know what? I go anywhere else but there. But anyway, final comments.
But we're busy now means I won't treat people right, so I can be busy later.
Exactly.
And it's excused. Being busy is an excuse for being terrible. And I'm so tired of hearing that too. And blaming other departments for that lag is also, you know, and sorry to, I know you want to wrap up, but I'm going to add one more thing.
I'll stay here all day.
Okay. I was car shopping with my niece, who I just got a job in sales as well. So part of this, you know, every training I believe should start with car shopping. You should actually go out and you should see what your competition is. And you should see how easy it will be to stand apart and how easy it will be to make yourself memorable. But so while we're there, I had postponed this appointment twice, once by 2 days and once by 4 hours. So just to give you a little preface of how much time she actually had to get the vehicle ready. Our appointment was for 2. I got the automatic text to say, yes, appointment is set. Are you in? Yes, I am. So obviously the salesperson's being informed if I hadn't already been clear. We get there and she says, you know what? I'm just grabbing it from the other lot. Okay. That's bullshit. It's such a disregard for everybody else's time. No problem. I'm going to let that go. We are standing in the showroom for 20 minutes. Not a single person says one word to us. They are all walking around. There's a bunch of asshole sales managers at the tower hovering. Such an intimidating, and I don't get intimidated, as I'm sure you can tell, but such an intimidating act that it was, and no comfort at all to us being there. When my niece sees the vehicle in the parking lot, she says, Auntie, it's there. It's been there for like 10 minutes. We go out. What is she doing? She's wiping the vehicle down. What the fuck?
And I'd also like to point that Jeff and John owe me $10 because they said I would cuss long before Brandy on this live show. Thank you.
Let me tell you, Joe, I've been biting my tongue. Just so we're aware, I have been biting my tongue. But that, I was infuriated, and it's such bullshit. And she tried to blame other people. And now if I was just anybody, not knowing how the back end of the side worked, I would listen to her and say, yeah, that's bullshit. Your detail department didn't do that for you? No, sweetie, you didn't do that.
Disclaimer point, the AutoHub show does not necessarily condone the wording of our guests, but shit, yeah, no, sorry, but...
Sorry.
Right, I think it was bullshit Brandy cussed. I'm just going to say that.
Good, thank you. Please be second, Joe, please be second. Anyway, it was a joke, and we you know, people are sloughing off the excuse to other departments, and that's not okay. That, like you said, are we just trying to hit this quota? What's our quota? Let's just talk about what the quota is rather than the customer experience, and that truly is where retention on everything else falls. It really is.
You know, some of the best salespeople I ever had did all this COVID stuff way before COVID ever existed. They'd pick up, they'd drop off, they had cars ready, they called people, etc. All of a sudden the world learns it, but they only learned it for 3 months. That dealer was jumping on every service customer because instead of having their every bay full, they had a third of their bays full and they were scrambling for business and everybody got treated well. And we thought we learned, but maybe we didn't.
I will tell you that I worked for an owner and this taught me a lot. The owner said to me, you're the GM of the store. If any customer gets to me, I'm giving them whatever they want. And I was like, okay, he goes, so handle it at your level, right? Because it's going to be there. So if you're going to go, oh man, the owner gave it away, unwound the whole vehicle and we just lost $5,000 gross, then why didn't I give up $2,000 worth of gross and keep 3 of it? And then I taught every one of my managers service, parts, and all the sales managers. And I said, if they get to me, I'm giving it to them. And they're like, oh man, you sound like the owner. I said, I know. And guess what happened? Customer satisfaction scores went through the roof, right? I know how to game a system. but I also know how to play the game. And when you do both, your scores go through the roof and your customers keep coming back and they're like, oh my goodness, there's right. I'll tell you one time I didn't. First day we open. Okay. And this is a funny one. John's going to go, Joe's a jerk. We're okay. Right. First day we opened as new ownership, we ran out of coffee cups. Nobody tells me. Right. We have all the coffee. We brought in all of this. I brought in my own personal coffee makers that my wife had bought, like 4 pots that she takes them with her wherever store she goes to, right, for her finance department. And I'm like, okay, we put these in here. I get a Yelp review. It alerts me on my phone that these people say, oh my goodness, this place is so out of control. How do I know they even changed my oil? They have no coffee cups. So I get this and I go, what? And I go running into the service lounge and start yelling this guy's name. I'm like, hey, you here? You here? I'm like, there's 3 people here. I'm just yelling at 3 people and it's not him. And I'm like, what? So I answer back on Yelp. Hey, I'm in my service lounge right now looking for you, right? Somebody just took my American Express to go down to the store to buy more coffee cups. You missed it by 3 minutes. Where are you? Right? The guy answers back, I left and went to another dealership to get coffee. Right? Even though his car's in my service department. I'm like, what? Right? So he went back and forth, left me with a 1 star at the time we're done. And on Yelp, we're having an argument on why my question was, me not having cups in my customer lounge, what does that have to do with the technician changing oil? How do I know you even have oil filters back there? How do I even know you have this and you have, and I was like, I don't get that. So I accidentally went on Amazon, ordered 1,000 cups and had it drop shipped to his house.
Yeah.
Anonymously.
You know, it's about customers. It's not about scores. And, you know, to rig the system that we talked about. And it's a very interesting thing because retention's all about making money. And Barry said this earlier too. We'll spend $500 to bring a new customer in, and we won't spend $8 to bring somebody else in. And, you know, you mentioned coffee. Yeah. When I first started selling cars a long time ago, I won't admit it, the dealer in Calgary that I worked for said, offer them a coffee. Always offer a coffee. You come back after test driving a car, sit down with them, say, let me get you a coffee. Even if they don't drink it, they appreciate that. And thank you so much for joining us. And your input was phenomenal. And if anybody
wants the customer appreciation script, just email me.
I do.
Okay. Sounds
good.
Can
you hear me now?
There we go. I told you that dulcet tones. Pardon me.
The best for last, John.
I don't know if you know.
Listen, I had the wrong microphone on. I wasn't paying attention. One of the things I wanted to comment on, you know, when we're talking about retention, I certainly think that employee retention plays a part in customer retention.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And if we can't hold on to our employees, it just makes it more difficult to hold on to customers.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And that's actually when you'll see often where the process lags is any turnover creates such a huge disruption in everything. That is something to be said. And also, you know, having these tools in place for the dealers to actually, you know, even for their staff to be able to know that support is there is the utmost importance, right?